Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video. We've got another 10.1 update when it comes to player versus player. This is going to be class changes, rebalancing, and new PvP talents, as well as some previously existing ones being removed that are very exciting for some classes, some effects that have never been put into the game, and I'm really curious to see how they play out and what they're going to do to the game. So the first big update is going to be that hardiness, the orc racial for stun reduction, will have its effectiveness reduced by 50% in PvP combat. This reads with their developer's note: in conjunction with the crowd control changes we are making, we are adjusting the value of hardiness to put the ability's power level more in line with other racial abilities in PvP scenarios, while still being able to feel the impact of the racial. I think it's still probably pretty strong, even at 50% reduction, but definitely important to target it if they are going to be going down this route of overall crowd control reductions. Now, for Death Knight, you're going to see that Spell Warden is actually being removed, which means the Curse of Tongues effect with it. We don't see any new talents for you on this update, but it does seem like for the majority of the classes that are getting talents removed, they are getting additional talents in exchange. So you might be getting something really exciting here in the near future. And of course, you want to make sure that you never miss an update. Hit the subscribe button, because then you're never going to miss an update right here on the channel. It's just going to notify you when my videos go live. The reactive resin PvP talent is being removed for all specializations except Resto, which is getting a redesign. This is expected. This talent is just completely unused by the majority of specs, but for Resto specifically, it's going to give you some purge protection. So reduces the movement speed of enemies who remove your HOTS by 30% for 3 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. So if somebody purges you 3 times, the movement speed reduction is removed and the target will become rooted and silenced. So if somebody's just chasing you down, mashing the purge button on you, they're going to get it thrown back onto them with a silence effect. So this is really nice purge protection talent. Definitely one that I'm going to be looking to utilize for Resto Druid, and an interesting way to engage with that type of combat for PvP. Now for Fire Mage, Flame Cannon has been redesigned. Every 2 seconds in combat with no enemies within 20 yards, you will gain 3% maximum health, 3% increased damage, and a 3-yard range increase to your fire spells. This effect stacks up to 5 times and lasts for 3 seconds. So if you can keep distance from enemies, you're going to become a very big threat with this talent, up to 15% increased damage, 15% health. But it seems like if somebody gets in range of you, that this buff will fall off. So this may only be useful in wizard matchups where you're fighting other casters and can deliberately stay out of range of them. Curious to see how this would play out for maybe an RMP mage too, but usually... I don't know how big of a fan I am, honestly, of this one here. I think that because it only lasts for 3 seconds, and if somebody gets really close to you, I would assume that it falls off, that it probably isn't going to be that great, but it does force enemies to attack you. If you had like a different target on your team that you wanted to be left open, this would more so focus, would require people to focus you instead. For Brewmasters, Wind Waker is being removed. Your guided meditation PvP talent is also going to be nerfed. It's going to reduce the cooldown of Zen meditation by 50%, down from 75%. For Mistweaver, a new PvP talent, Fey Accord, Feyline Stomp, cooldown is reduced by 20 seconds, and enemies struck by your Feyline Stomp are snared by 50% for 8 seconds, down from 70. I'm honestly surprised to see them nerf this, because it's already so difficult to even get anybody to stay even remotely close to a Feyline Stomp, that 70% didn't even seem like it would be effective enough. But maybe I'm wrong, just purely because of the fact that they're nerfing it so prematurely at this point. For Windwalker monks, Turbo Fists PvP talent no longer causes Fists of Fury to deal its full damage to all targets hit. However, Fists of Fury will now deal 90% of its damage to secondary target players, so more focus around Fists of Fury and damage during that ability. For Retribution Paladins, Ultimate Retribution now marks the enemy for 12 seconds, up from 8. Obviously, the Ret Paladin rework has been doing some wonders here for Ret Paladins in 10.0.7, and I'm curious to see what else they're going to be getting now moving forward into 10.1. For Priest, they are nerfing the PvP talent Absolute Faith. This one was absolutely ridiculous when it first came out. It was basically going to be Life Grip pulls allies to you and Spirit Link totems you, and you could get that as Shadow. So that effect, I think, was pretty immediately recognized as too powerful. Now instead, it's going to pull 3 allies together, and it will shield all of the allies that are currently affected. So curious to see if this really sees any play. It really probably depends on the shield value itself. If it's not a very powerful shield, then normally grouping too many people together actually backfires in PvP. You don't really want to be grouped up in a lot of scenarios. But if the shield is a powerful shield, then I could see this being taken. For Shadow, Mind Spike damage is now increased in PvP combat by 25%. It looks like that's getting removed. Now, Shadow is getting a complete rework, and really all the information on it is just like completely like almost you can't read it because there's so much being done to it that like trying to keep up with what's going on this early on is just like complete headache, I think. But let's take a look. So Mind Spike and insanity damage is now increased by 30%, so 5% buff to Mind Spike. Mind Flay and Mind Flay insanity damage is now also increased by 30% in PvP combat, so maybe there's a possibility for some Mind Flay builds. That's I've seen a couple of players running right now, but this would definitely go pretty far in helping towards those builds. Death Speaker increases the damage of Shadow Word Death by 10% PvP combat, down from 25%. So it looks like they were trying to shift you away from Shadow Word Death talents and more so into your casted spells, and that seems to be the focus for the class as a whole with the rework from what I've read so far, with removals of things like Damnation, which instantly applied your dots to all of the targets. So with this direction, you might be a really threatening caster, but also leaves you open to being interrupted, unlike before. And now we're getting into some of the new effects that I have never seen before in PvP right here. New talent, Burrow. Now, when I first read this word, I was thinking of like StarCraft, where you got lurkers and they dig under the ground and then they shoot spikes at people, and I'm like, are shamans going to be doing that? Like, what's going on? So you do burrow beneath the ground, becoming unattackable. It's ice block. You will remove movement impairing effects and increasing your movement speed for 50% for 5 seconds. When the effect ends within 6 yards, enemies within 6 yards are knocked into the air and take physical damage. You're Nubarak from Heroes of the Storm. You're going to go underground. You're going to be subterranean, going like this and then jumping out of the ground and knocking people away. So you're going to be able to pre-immune stuff as well as get a knock-up and do a little bit of damage. Like this could be really fun. Like that sounds like a really fun talent. I'm going to be real. Like out of a lot of the talents that I have seen so far, this might actually be the most fun talent. A lot of them are usually just kind of throughput ones, but this one seems really cool. And this is all shamans as well. It's not even just Resto Shaman. Enhance. This is great defense for you. It's an ice block. Ellie Shaman as well. And you could sneak up on enemies, knock them up into the air, and try and find some crowd control maybe out of that. So very exciting talent for Shaman. For Elemental, you're getting Volcanic Surge. This is going to increase the damage of Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning and Lava Burst by 20%. Lava Surge instead will reduce the cast time of your next Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, or Lava Burst by 25%, stacking up to 2 times. Volcanic Surge now also increases the chance for Lava Surge to trigger by 100%. So again, focusing more on casted damage for the casters in PvP here, moving away from proc gameplay and maybe trying to incentivize taking more risk and opening up your cast bar, along with the fact that crowd controls are getting reduced, so it should enable casted gameplay a little bit more. Seems to be the direction that they're taking. For Warlock, I didn't know that you needed buffs, but you're getting buffs here with Warlock. Bonds of Fell PvP talent, explosion damage increased by 33%. To be fair, I think this talent is really cool and has an interesting mechanic to play around in PvP, so buffing it and making it more favorable or more attractive to use, I think is a good idea. You're also getting a new PvP talent, which is Impish Instincts. Taking direct physical damage reduces the cooldown of Demonic Circle by 2 seconds. This cannot occur more than once every 5 seconds, so getting your port a little bit more frequently to be able to kite enemy attackers, which could be desirable. I'm struggling to think of all of the available honor talents to Warlock, if this one is truly going to be available to you or not. With given how some other ones are usually auto lock in, but there are previously existing talents that are being removed. I think the Conflagrate one that's escaping my mind right now is getting removed, which you would take pretty locked in. So this might be an option for your defensive mobility with Warlock. Now, Demonology specifically, Master Summoner has been redesigned. This is going to reduce the cast time of your called Dreadstalkers, Summon Vile Fiend, and Demonic Tyrant by 20%, and reduces the cooldown of your called Dreadstalkers by 5 seconds. So you're able to pump out a lot of casts here if you ran a Fell Obelisk with this to get your cast speed up as well. and get all your demons going out even faster. Could be really crazy. Now, for also, Call Fell Lord PvP talent no longer costs soul shards, and Fell Cleave's damage has been increased by 30% and is now cast 50% more frequently. I will say Fell Lord did need to get a buff out of all the things. I thought this mechanic was cool when it came in Legion. The idea of zone denial, trying to control a space or deny an escape. I think that's always had a really interactive experience in PvP, and I was really sad when it just kind of felt like it got nerfed out of nowhere, and there was really no rhyme or reason to it. It just felt really weak, and then nobody ever selected it again, because I thought it had such a cool effect and unique effect. Especially it just was like identifiably Demo's thing. So seeing this get buffed, I do like, although maybe we're in 10.0.7 and Demo is absolutely dominating, so it seems a little bit strange that they're buffing it. The other thing that is going to be affecting PvP specifically is a change to Priest here, which is improved Mass Dispel is now only going to reduce the cast time by a half a second rather than a full second, so the fast MDs aren't going to be as threatening, but still somewhat threatening. Also, Psychic Scream and Void Tendrils are going to be hitting all enemies within 8 yards, not just 5. So if you're fighting these pet classes, you're going to be able to fear all of the pets. You're going to be able to root all of the pets. This is also going to remove any kind of outplay opportunity by any classes that can summon additional pets to try and soak a fear for their healer or something. That mechanic is going to be removed as a result of this, but you're going to have ways to deal with Beast Mastery Hunters and Demonology Warlocks, which are so prevalent, which I think is kind of necessary, at least at this point in the game, with how many pets that are summoned by a lot of classes. This was like the last thing that stood out to me that's going to be affecting PvP. And then, as I said, Shadows getting just a bunch of retuning on all of their abilities. That's going to make more sense, I think, as we get closer to the end of it, and isn't really worth kind of just like trying to jot your head into what exactly is going to happen just yet, because it seems like every time I look at this, it's just a giant change of stuff that doesn't really make a lot of sense, given that I've not seen what it's doing after the fact that they've done their initial hit of changes to it. But other than that, that's the PvP changes here. Some really cool and exciting ones for Shaman. That Burrow one also has got me really anticipated to see what new abilities or tuning is going to come in for other classes that we haven't seen. Like, they removed Spell Warden, like one of the most desirable PvP talents for Death Knight. What are you getting in exchange for this powerful effect? Is it going to be something equally as powerful? Is it going to be a flop? We'll have to wait and see. But other than that, thank you very much for watching the video, and I will catch you in the next one.